What's up, guys? This is Carter Thomas with Coin Mastery TV. Make sure you go and sign up for the email newsletter at coinmastery.com/invest. If you'd like to get the audio for your commute to work, please go to coinmastery.com/iTunes or /Android for your respective platform. We're doing daily updates of the crypto markets, specifically of the macro, a little bit of fundamental analysis, but we're talking about how big trends and what's happening in the entire crypto world affects you and how it can translate into what you should do and how you should frame your decisions. We're going to talk a little bit about how things are moving, different news that's happening in the world. The whole goal of this is to make sure that you, or help you make better decisions and capitalize on this insane financial opportunity. Today, what we're talking about is a lot of top-level things. We're talking about some news. We're talking about some things that are happening. We're talking about some moves that I made from portfolio diversification standpoint that I think you might be interested in. And then we're going to talk about a little bit about some interesting things that have happened being outside of my own bubble of San Francisco and outside of the crypto world on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and all that. And I really want to just share with you some new perspectives, help you see what's going on potentially with Bitcoin right now, look through the alt markets, and leave this half-hour session, give or take, with a better understanding and better position to make good decisions. Looking at the 1 hour on Bitcoin, as you guys can see, my cursor is big. Thanks for the comments. I'm going to work on getting a better solution for this so it doesn't look like I'm 85 years old and need reading glasses. We are currently coming off of a big drop, off a big spike, and we're seeing some comebacks. Now, the big question, and this is something that we will continue to talk about over the coming days and weeks, is this bull trend that's happening? I shouldn't say bull trend. I should say an upward trend. Is this the one that we should be following, or should we be more concerned about this overall bear downward trend, right? Is this just a hiccup in a bigger macro trend? And that is the question. That is what 80% of what you see, technical analysis wise, about Bitcoin, that is what they're trying to answer. Well, we're all trying to answer. And so there is no specific yes or no, except for two interesting pieces of information. I think the first one, from all the people I've talked to, from all the traders I've talked to, from all the research I've done, it seems that if Bitcoin 4,100 was a solid resistance level, and you can see that it can't quite break through for a very sustained period of time. The next big one is right around here, right between 4,300 and 4,400, and that's where things are going to start to get interesting. And the real charts that you want to look at for those confirmations are when we start to have candles that close over those levels. It doesn't really matter if it goes up and then comes back down and goes up and comes back down within, let's say, a 1-day time frame. What really matters is that if the whole day closes at that new level, right, you get a big level up, which is why you always want to check out different time frames when you're looking at it. So yesterday, we started to see a little bit of a down movement, and then today we'll see what we see. But the real, what they call confirmations, happen when you're looking at the 1-day charts or even the 4-hour. But the 1-day is better for the larger questions at hand, which are: is this a bigger downturn, or is this a correction up back from this low? And the further out the time frame, the better. So we're going to keep an eye on that. If you guys should keep an eye on 4,300 to 4,400, especially on the 1-day, because that's going to really be a sign of things to come if it even gets that high. If it doesn't get that high, so it goes. But looking at the 1-day, it may seem like an eternity, but there's a lot of power to that. Patience is profits. Second thing to keep in mind, on Twitter, you should go follow this guy. I'm not saying I endorse his commentary by any means, but Peter L. Brandt is a very old school and a very good technical analyst that he's been working in commodities for, I think, 40 or some odd years. And now he's interested in cryptos and specifically Bitcoin. And he does charts. And what I like about what he does is, one, he's very by the book, which that's not really my style, but I respect it because this guy's been around the block and he knows probably a lot more. He definitely knows a lot more than I do about markets so I respect that. And two, he looks at bigger time frames. He does not look at 30-minute charts. He doesn't look at 1-hour charts necessarily. He looks at these bigger 4-hour, 1-day charts. And so one thing that he tweeted about this morning is this idea that Bitcoin is in what's called a rising wedge. Now, if you're listening on the podcast, you should go look on the video to see what this looks like, but it's essentially a triangle going up and to the right. And this, typically, the fundamentals would tell you that this is actually a bearish pattern, meaning that it's often going to break out after this is done, or at some point it's going to break down from here. What he's saying is that it needs to break through the top to break out of this pattern. Otherwise, this will theoretically lead to a bigger downward pressure movement, especially within the confines of this. So I think that this is just, I like following a lot of different people who do a lot of different technical analysis, because I don't know what I don't know. And everyone says something different. And the best you can do is do your research by following these people, by learning a little bit about technical analysis yourself. But I'm always fascinated specifically with people that look at the larger time frames versus people that are trying to time like the exact moment of the breakout. And there's pros and cons to each. But go check this out. If you ever want to see who I'm following, just go to twitter.com/Carter Thomas and look at the people, click on the link of people I'm following. And it'll save you a lot of time. But this is always interesting. As much as somebody might be from a different era, or somebody might have a different style or anything like that, I think one thing that's really important to remember is that markets are markets, and it doesn't matter if it's crypto or gold futures or corn or Tesla. It doesn't matter. Markets behave the same almost all the time. I'm not saying this guy's right. I'm just saying that this is a really important perspective to have. So when you're looking at Bitcoin, start getting the habit of looking at it in different time frames. Don't just look at the one that paints the best picture or that's the most exciting. Look at the time frames that require a different way of thinking. It'll give you a more full-fledged view of the picture. So what does this exactly mean for you? Same as we've been talking about this week. I don't think I'm going to be buying anything this week, mostly just because I'm waiting for this to work itself out. Whether it shoots up or whether it comes down or whether it just goes sideways for a while, I'm not sure, but you want to get in the habit of just reacting to these markets as opposed to trying to predict them. Trying to predict them is a really good way to lose your money. So in a holding pattern, I'm going to keep my eye on this, but Bitcoin's just doing its thing. Opening up Bittrex, a little bit of the same story. One interesting development that happened, which we'll talk about in a second, is the Ethereum Metropolis kind of getting released to the testnet, I believe it was. It's getting rolled out in phases. And so you're starting to see some new attention around companies around Ethereum. Specifically, I talked about Zcash yesterday, which hasn't really done anything, but Zcoin, which I've also talked about in great detail. There's a video from a couple weeks ago you guys can check out. It did get a lot because not only from the Ethereum hard fork, but also because they just released a really great new code base update. Really great product, so it's way faster. And they're also working on what are called Z nodes, which is master nodes. It's like, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's like if you own, let's say, 500 Z coins, you can get dividends, right? So they'll pay you 5 coins a month or something. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but that's a really powerful for the economics of the coin and the health of the markets. Looking through everything else, it's really, I think everything else is really just coming down to people getting antsy, right? I mean, the people that are buying and selling this stuff, it's people like you and me. I mean, and then there's whales and everything in between, but it's like people just want to keep buying stuff. And that's why I think we're seeing a lot of different movements in the market, a lot of ups and downs really quickly. Stratus had a tweet that they're going to release their identity platform and their Breeze wallet coming out very soon, which caused a spike, even though the price didn't really go up that much. It was just more of a low, from a lower low up to kind of a previous historic level. For anybody who's a lot of people ask me, I still own a good amount of Stratus. I've traded that a bunch of times because I do believe they have something very, very strong. I believe in their team, and I think that they are trying to do something great. On the downside, I think that they are very ambitious on how much they're trying to build all at once. And I would be way more stoked if they just focused on getting one piece of the project out, specifically the Breeze wallet, and not trying to build a platform that can handle like the next internet. Just get something out, guys. What's the problem? One thing to keep in mind with Lisk is that they have a rebranding campaign coming out at some point soon. Maybe we're checking out. I do not own any Lisk. I'm not buying any Lisk. But rebranding has typically done really well. OK Cash just did rebranding, went through the roof. Neo did a rebranding, went through the roof. I mean, there's a lot of companies that have done this. So that might be one that you want to check out. But other than that, it's really, this market is just kind of, or this time frame, it's hard to really put rhyme or reason to anything other than, market sentiment, people getting excited. And honestly, I think it's just because people just want to buy something every single day. And they're finding reasons to buy stuff. And if nothing else from this video, don't try to force it. Don't go out looking to buy something. If you see something that piques your interest, that matches your criteria, that's in your bullpen of coins that you like, make sure that it follows that checklist from the newsletter. Go download the newsletter, and I think it's on email number 2 or 3. You get a checklist where it's like, are you buying a dip? Do you believe in the product? Are you going to hold it for 12 months? Like the whole checklist. Then you can buy it. But you should be waiting to buy as often as you can. I'm sorry. We should be waiting to buy as opposed to buying as often as you can. Before I forget, one thing about Zcash. Somebody pointed this out on Twitter yesterday, and I appreciate this, and I want to make sure I correct myself. Because yesterday I kind of misspoke where I said Zcash is so private that you actually can't tell how many new coins are being made, and there's potential for people messing with that. Zcash has actually made a lot of safeguards in place to make sure that that's not really possible. It could happen, but Zcash has done a lot to mitigate that. And I just want to make sure that that's clear because I wasn't fully informed. I had not read that blog post, and it's important for me when you should know that too. So Zcash actually has those safeguards in place, so no one's going out and printing money with, I don't think that they're going to have a huge problem with fraud or anything like that, or hacks. So just want to clear that up. Let's look at TechCrunch. If you did not see this yesterday, go to facebook.com/TechCrunch, one word. Watch the live video. I made a kind of hilarious mistake yesterday where I was trying to find a way to put this video on Twitter. I went to TechCrunch's Twitter account. I tweeted what I considered to be the one that had the link to the live video. Turns out I tweeted the one headline that was not true. He was talking about Visa, Ethereum's gonna take over Visa. It's like Murphy's Law, right? This is what I wanted people to see, is the live video. So go check this out at TechCrunch. Watch it, especially if you've never watched Vitalik and Naval talk. You'll see. I mean, very, very smart, very cerebral, very left-brained. Very if-then about everything. However, this is the future. I mean, this is it. And I would encourage you guys to watch it. And if you don't know what they're talking about, go look it up. This is the kind of stuff that's really important to learn about, because the more you know about this technology and about what they're doing, the more you will make better decisions about what you buy. right? You'll be able to see through some of the BS. Vitalik talks about some really interesting use cases of Ethereum and of blockchain. It can really help you decide what you agree with, what you don't agree with. What you don't want to do is turn this on and listen to them talk and immediately dismiss them because it's not something you necessarily understand or want to take the time to learn. This is the wrong business. This is the wrong industry for that. You got to know who these people are, what they're doing. You got to understand at least the basics of blockchain, of proof of stake and security and privacy. You got to make a commitment to learn that stuff. It is really important. I'm not saying you got to be an expert or whatever, but the more you learn about this, the more I learn about this, the more I understand the markets, the better I can make picks on the coins that I'm buying. And the same will be true for you. So go watch it. It's really interesting. It talks about a lot of different things. I really liked specifically one thing he talked about was what are the best use cases of Ethereum. And one thing he talked about how decentralization of storage is actually not a very good use case because centralized servers like Amazon Web Services are actually better than that. And I've thought that for a while. That's why I don't really own any. I own storage from a scalp trade, but like Sia Coin, Storage, Filecoin, I don't own any of that because I personally agree with him. I don't think that decentralized storage is better than Amazon Web Services, whether it's possible. But he did talk about decentralized computing, right? It's like everything kind of helping out with their CPU power. And that's more like what IOTA and Golem are doing. I thought that was really interesting that it's something that he sees as a viable use case. There's a lot of gems like that. I would encourage you to go check it out. At the very least, somebody better start selling those shirts on Amazon because that rainbows and unicorns and owls with UFOs. Man, I got to get one of these. It's the best. So go check that out. Now, I want to talk quickly about a few things with the overall market that we're seeing right now. And I'm starting to see this not only in, on Twitter, on the news and stuff, but also just, talking to people. I'm at a conference, probably talked about 50 people. This is not a blockchain conference. It's like a marketing thing. I've talked to, people in general. And when you look at the news, I think I'm always really interested, and I do this with regular news too, or, like you go to the Wall Street Journal or whatever. A majority of the news articles they used to be more about product development and exciting new technology that's happening and bios on people. And it was just fun and cool to read. And nothing against Cointelegraph at all. It's a terrific place to go get a lot of info. But we're starting to see things, the news is starting to become about not necessarily clickbait, but more emotionally driven headlines. So like the Jamie Dimon thing is all over the place. And so we're still talking about JP Morgan, and we're talking about a lot of different emotionally charged issues. And when you go and you click through all these articles, the ones with the highest number of shares and reads are the ones that really try to push the buttons of the emotional side of it. And a lot of the ones that are really interesting about new products coming out, new technology that's coming out, and the stuff that's actually going to help you guys make a lot of money because you invest in good companies, that does not get nearly as much attention because it doesn't get shared. It doesn't tap into the emotions. The reason why I'm bringing this up it's a reminder to myself just as much as it's for anybody else. When you read the news, especially about blockchain, make sure that you're reading news that is beneficial to your understanding of how you can benefit from this financial revolution. If you are reading stuff because it's entertaining, if you are watching videos because they're entertaining, if you are spending your time on the internet consuming content that is purely for entertainment and does not help you make money or is not setting you up to make decisions to make more money, you are wasting your time. And By wasting your time, you are inherently going to miss a big part of this opportunity. I'm not trying to be the world is ending or everything's dire, but I think it's so important to be aware. When you look at the macro trend of news, blockchain is not immune to the BuzzFeed syndrome of the world, meaning Cointelegraph is eventually going to move to what gets the most clicks, what appeals to the widest audience, what's going to be the viral video. They have to. They're a business. They have to make money on ads, unless I put my trusty ad blocker up best, right? They are moving that way. They have to. That's the business model. You are you're getting sold. Like, you are the product for them, right? Your attention is everything. And the reason why I'm harping on this is because you're going to see more and more and more emotionally charged news articles, tweets, everything. And you got to make sure that you're getting value from it somehow. You got to make sure that you read it, you process it, maybe you write down what you learned from it, or make a mental note of it. But don't fill your mind with just emotional garbage, right? Stuff that's just trying to get you fired up or whatever, or chase the dragon in some way. So I'm starting to see this happen more often, and I think it's important. You should spend 20 minutes watching videos like Vitalik instead of trying to find out more about, some random thing, some random dude said we're in a bubble or whatever. Like, stick to what's going to make you money. Like, your time is the most valuable thing in this market. There's a shot clock on crypto going through the moon, right? You want to be prepared. You want to really nail it. One thing I wanted to talk about is diversification. I want to talk about diversification in a larger sense. Now, I am not a financial advisor. This is not professional advice by any means. All I'm doing is talking about my personal opinions and what I did. Okay? Anyone out there has a variety of different investment vehicles you can put your money into, right? You can put your money into a house. You can put your money into the stock market, into bonds, into cash, into businesses, into crypto, whatever. Like, there's a million things you can put your money into. And as mentioned on that Tim Ferriss podcast the other day with Ray Dalio, diversification is really, really important. Even if it seems really boring, it can actually deliver monumental returns. And more importantly, it can keep you from getting smoked when things go down. For the most part, I think that a lot of people in crypto are pretty evenly split for now. I think that there's a lot of people that are way over leveraged in crypto, meaning they liquidated their savings account and they put it in, which is fine. Like, I mean, go for it. That's your thing. That's not my problem. There's a lot of people that have most of their money in conservative investments and they put 5% of their money in crypto, and they think it's really fun and it's an exciting time, but it's not what's going to help them retire. Whatever you choose to do, that's fine. What I would tell you is that the more of percentage of your investment portfolio that you put into something like crypto, which is very high risk, very high volatility, even if it has a huge growth curve, it's still really, really volatile. It's very risky in one way or another. The more you have in crypto, the more you should want to balance it out with very, very low risk stuff. If you want a great book about this, go get, it's called Black Swan by Nassim Taleb, right? Yeah, for Anti-Fragile. Great book. And he talks about this kind of like the Black Swan, where you can have very conservative investments like cash, money market, political implications of fiat aside, cash, and then, crypto or venture capital or whatever, these long shot moon type of investments. So you want to have some sort of balance. And even if I know that a majority of people won't do this, I just feel better talking about this. And one thing I did about this is that I personally moved a handful of my stock portfolios into cash, long-term holds for capital gains reasons, into cash. Not everything by any means. And the reason why I did that is because I looked at what I owned and I was like, I got crypto, I got a long-term portfolio, I've got my retirement accounts, I've got other assets, all of which have different risk profiles. But there was a lot in the upper tier, right, in crypto and in what I would call high risk, high return stocks, which is, tech stocks, basically, Tesla, Apple, all that. I have nothing against those companies, Facebook. In fact, I fully believe in them. But I also know that we've been in a bull run for the last 8.5, 9 years, and I have no idea if the market is going to continue to crush it for another 5 years or if it's going to go down. I have no clue. But I do know that if I'm going to put money into crypto, I need to have something that is not going to go down, relatively speaking. So you put it in like a money market or a TIPS, an inflation protected securities fund or something that balances it all out. Because when you try to double dip and get all your investments to all crush it and get the highest returns possible, something has to give. And in this case, we have a bull market economy and we have a bull market crypto. If one of those two things went way down, there would be a big repercussion. Again, guys, I have no idea. Like I could miss out on a lot of money if let's say the NASDAQ goes to 10,000 and I did this. I fully accept that. All I know is that by being in crypto, I can't be leveraged into other higher risk categories. I need to balance out that risk with more conservative investments. Take that for what it is. You guys can make your own decisions. You're all smart people. If you want to learn more about that, go look up diversification. Go read Tony Robbins' book about money master the game. It's long. It's worth it. You should go read it. Diversification is really, really important. It'll help you sleep at night. But I thought I'd share that with you because we talk about macro, and crypto isn't just about what's happening in altcoins. So diversification is not how many coins you own. Diversification is asset classes, right? Different. All right, second to last thing, I want to talk about networking. This is something that I want to keep bringing up. It's obviously very relevant being at this conference, but kind of yes and no. One thing that's interesting, I talked to about 50 people yesterday. It's not a blockchain thing. 50 people, about 4 people own Bitcoin. These are smart, like millionaire type people. These are smart people, financially successful, I should say. That is a very, very, very small percentage. I thought it would be like 50%, right? And I would imagine if I kept asking around to the 1,000 people, 2,000 people that are here, that percentage would probably go down, right down to like 1 or 2%. In fact, most people didn't even they thought crypto they didn't even think it was a thing. And this is really smart people. And that alone was kind of a wow. There's a whole world of people that hasn't even touched this stuff yet. So that's very exciting. I think the other thing that is really exciting is the power of networking. And I've talked about this for years in multiple arenas and how much it's helped me. And what I would encourage everybody to start thinking about is how much networking are you doing in the blockchain space? And the rule of thumb I always tend to go with is for every online connection you make, on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, a phone call is worth 10 times as much as the online connection. Like chatting in a chat room, talking on the phone is worth 10 times as much in terms of how much value you get out of it, how much you build a relationship. Meeting in person is worth 10 times as much as that. So it's worth 100 times. And there's no math behind this. This is just my experience. And the more you can meet people, the more you can get on the phone with people, the more you can meet people in real life, the more you will see a lot of really amazing things happen to not only your business, but just your enjoyment of this business. Now, the more tactical side of this is that anybody in finance would tell you that the most important thing in finance is information. bar none, right? If you have good information, you're going to make a lot of money, right? You got to have good information. It can't be like insider info, right? You can't do that. But good information is very valuable. And so something that I would encourage everybody to start thinking about and potentially working on is how can you meet more people on the phone or in real life? And how can you find people that have information that you could potentially profit from? In other words, what information could somebody give you that if you heard it, you could make money from? And I can tell you right now, nobody's going to say, hey, go buy this coin because it's going to go up tomorrow, and be able to do that over and over and over. That's unrealistic to expect. But there are people that may be able to hear about some new company that's up and coming, that's got an amazing product that no one's heard of yet, and they can introduce you to them, right? That's a potentially very profitable piece of information. There's a whole lot of different things for somebody who knows somebody in a government somewhere around the world, or who knows. But the more you can start asking yourself a question that it took me a long time to realize this, when you ask yourself, what is the most profitable thing somebody could tell me? And am I in a position that I could capitalize on it if someone did give me that information right now or tomorrow or whatever? And the more you think about that, the more money you will make in cryptocurrency, in finance, in anything. Because information is just the gateway because the only difference between you and a millionaire or $10 million is like a couple clicks of the button. But you got to have the right information to make that click. That's why networking, that's why information is so, so important. And it takes work, it takes hustle, it takes creativity. But as I've said for many times in these videos, my goal in cryptocurrency is to make like an enormous amount of money, to share that journey along with you guys. But the more you can network, the more you can meet new people, the more you can create that, the better. The better chances you have. Last thing, Ray Dalio talked about this in his podcast. I watched it the other day. It's phenomenal. This is a video on YouTube, and it's called How the Economic Machine Works by Ray Dalio. This is kind of along those lines of the Vitalik video, where if you watch this and you're not interested in macroeconomics, you're going to turn it off in 5 minutes. I would encourage everybody to just watch it once, maybe twice, because what he talks about is how economies work, and specifically how credit and debt works. If you don't know what that is, this is a great video to go watch. But he talks about how credit and debt on a micro and on a macro level are what drive boom and bust cycles. And when you watch this video, I think that you will start to see a lot of parallels, not only with our current political and economic environment, you will start to see a lot of potential crossovers to cryptocurrency. This is the kind of stuff that's really helpful when you want to see the big picture and when you want to be able to identify what's happening and react accordingly and make better decisions. These are the kind of concepts that I have found to be most helpful. I would encourage you to go watch it. It's like 30 minutes long. It's cool. And they do it really well. It's like, hand drawing stuff. All right. With that, I think we're going to rock and roll. I'm going to head out to this conference, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. See you tomorrow. Peace out.